Smackdown starts off with a bloodline promo, starts off with Solo. He ends up saying that he built a bigger, stronger, more powerful bloodline, more stronger and bigger family. And he ends up saying that Roman can't do anything. Roman and Jimmy can't do anything about it. Then he mentions Jimmy going over to Monday Night Raw, trying to recruit Jay, but Jay ends up refusing the offer. He ends up saying that the beatdowns would continue on both of them until Roman comes out and acknowledges him. Jey Uso then comes out, which was very shocking. He comes out, ends up talking to Solo, ends up saying that Solo needs to really think about what he's doing. He's dividing the family, and that's not the way to go. He ends up mentioning how he left the bloodline, he became his own man, and that he became champion. And he ends up saying that fighting over the Ulafala is not the way. Then he ends up talk about how the Ulafala is not something you just take, it's something you earn. And he ends up saying that if you want to stop Roman's power, do it, but don't divide the family. Solo ends up, telling Jay that that's not what he's trying to do. He bringing the family together, and that he ends up saying that you need to stop calling him little bro, because Jey Uso throughout the promo kept calling him little bro. He ends up saying that I am now your tribal chief, so that's what he wants to be addressed as. Then Solo ends up saying that him and Roman will always have a place in his bloodline. All they have to do is acknowledge him, and that he ends up asking Jay that is he in or is he out. Jay ends up responding back, ends up mentioning how if the things he's saying are true, if he really wants to reunite the family, why did he bring the Tongas and why did he bring Jacob? Because he ends up mentioning there was a reason why they stayed away from them. Then he ends up threatening Jacob Fatu because he ended up saying that Jacob Fatu kept on looking at him in a certain way. Then he ends up saying that the next time that they meet, things are going to be different. And then he walks out the ring, and that's how we end this segment. This was really good. This was really good. I will criticize it a bit. Now, I don't really care about the brand split like most people, but it doesn't make sense that Jey Uso was on the show, but it was still a good promo nonetheless. Doesn't make sense to a degree, but it was really good. This is very interesting. This is very interesting. You could go two ways with this. Either one, Jacob Fatu and the Bloodline are going to interfere in the match now that they interacted with Jey Uso. So either they're going to interrupt their match on Jey Uso's match on Monday against Braun Breaker, cost him the title, or somehow Jey Uso is going to win even with the Bloodline interference. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they play that story out. This was really good. This was really good. Now we end up getting a number one contendership tag team match between the Street Profits, DIY, Pretty Deli. This was a really good match, really fun match. But towards the end of the match, Kid Wilson and Elton Prince, both are on the ground. Montez Ford and and Tommaso Ciampa both go for the pin on each member of Pretty Deli. They end up pinning them at the same time, count to three, but DIY ended up winning because Tommaso Ciampa ended up pinning the person that was actually tagged in, while Montez Ford did not. So DIY ends up winning, and now they're the new. Well, they advanced to being one of the. They advanced to the next round to face the next number one contender for the next set of tag teams to be the one who would decide whoever wins that match be the one to face the Bloodline for their tag team titles. Now we end up getting a segment between Roman, Jay, Jimmy. Roman and Jimmy end up walking into the arena, and then they end up running into Jey Uso. Jey Uso ends up staring down Roman. He tries to leave, but Roman ends up grabbing him, pulling him to the side, pulling him back, and Roman ends up saying that he is proud of Jey Uso. The family is proud of him, and then Jey Uso didn't say anything. He just had like a more annoyed, angry look and ended up walking away. This is really good. This is really good. Really love what they did here. They're showing that Jey Uso is not easily won over. That they're really gonna have to really, try to earn his trust. And this could go in multiple ways. You could either have Jey Uso lose to the Bloodline, lose to Braun Breaker due to the Bloodline interference, or you could have the Bloodline interfere, and then Roman and Jay saves the day, which allowed Jay to somewhat trust them to want to help them since he's not IC champion. You could go two ways with this route. I don't know which one I enjoy more. Either way, I would like it, but I don't know which route I would want more, to be honest. But overall, it's going to be very interesting to see how they get Jey Uso back on good terms with Roman and Jimmy. We end up getting a quick match between Piper and Lash Legend. Well, I wouldn't say quick. I wouldn't say quick, but it was the quickest match on here outside of the last women's match. But Lash Legend actually picked up the victory. this was very interesting. I knew she was gonna win. She had some impressive spots. She ended up picking up Piper Niven like twice and slamming her. Um, hopefully they're a regular on SmackDown. They still call them Metaphor, which is still a bit confusing because they're not really with Oral or Noam Dar anymore. Well, they're still technically with Aura Menta on NXT. They just haven't been on NXT in a while. So hopefully they're officially called up and they're just keeping the name. Hopefully they're not going back to NXT. But overall, this is really good. I'm excited to see what's next for them. We end up getting a quick Kevin Owens segment. He's in some type of, I'm assuming he's in his house or in some type of area. Basically, he ends up saying that it's unfair that WWE is trying to silence him because due to the attack of attacking Cody Rhodes. And then he ends up mentioning how Randy betrayed him for choosing Cody Rhodes over himself. He ends up going on. And one thing they mentioned, he ends up mentioning how he feels he doesn't feel like he's being treated right in this company for all the years he put inside the company. Ends up saying that it's unfair for him to be silenced due to him attacking their golden boy while other people have done way worse, which is technically true. People have done way worse and they don't get suspended. So he isn't wrong about that. I love this. I love how they're also incorporating his contract situation because he hasn't signed a new contract for WWE, and I think it's up by like January or February if I'm not mistaken. So I love how they're adding the contract situation as well into this storyline. This is really good. I can't wait to see how this story plays out between the three of them with Randy, KO, and Cody Rhodes all beefing eventually, all feuding against each other. I like how they're going to interact this story. I can't wait to see how this plays out. Now we end up getting the next number one contendership match for the tag team titles. A-Town Down Under versus Legado del Fantasma. And versus Motor City Machine Guns. They finally end up making their in-ring debut. And they pick up the victory. This was a really good match. I was really impressed with what I saw for them in the ring. Gonna have to get used to their names. But very interested to see if they probably will win next week and then probably lose to the Bloodline. But overall, this is good. They showcase a really good performance in their first match in their debut. I'm excited to see what's next for them. They have a really cool entrance, really cool attire. I'm hype, and I think they could really do some things in the tag division. So hopefully everything goes well. Now we end up getting a match between Bayley, Naomi versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. Originally, this was supposed to be Tiffany Stratton, but Tiffany Stratton apparently got sick, so Nia had to find a new partner, which ended up being Candice LeRae. Shockingly, Candice LeRae actually picked up the victory and was the one that pinned Bayley in this match with the help of Indy Hartwell, which I did enjoy. Now, hopefully, they continue to use Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell because they are a tag team and you could use more tag teams in your women's tag division. Like, the tag team division does not just revolve around Damage Control, but just saying. But hopefully they continue to use her. Also, now, some people are saying that she's about to get a huge push because she recently pinned Io Sky for the Speed Championship and now she pinned Bayley. I don't know about that, but hopefully it just means she gets featured more and hopefully she gets booked at least instead of just being not seen at all. Now we end up getting an announcement that LA Knight is going to be the special guest referee for Andrade versus Carmelo 7. Okay, I'm very mixed on this. A lot of people don't like this for good reason because a lot of us just wanted to see the 7 match to see who's the better man. With LA Knight being a special guest referee, that clearly means that he is officially going to cost one of them the match, or it's going to be some type of disqualification, which allows it to be basically where it's going to have to be a triple threat match. Either way, I feel like we was going to get the same result. So if the end result is for it to be a triple threat match, then I understand it. So I won't be mad at it. But if the end result is with one of them winning due to LA Knight's interference, most likely Andrade would probably win due to LA Knight, due to Carmelo being too cocky with LA Knight, and then Andrade picks up the victory. If they go that route, then I would be upset at the decision. But if it's a triple threat, then I don't mind it. Now we end up getting the main event. It's Roman, Solo. They end up going back and forth. Roman ends up saying that he ends up mentioning what he said to Jey earlier, talk about how they're stronger and more united, but he ends up saying that he doesn't see that. He ends up saying they feel like they're more divided. He ends up mentioning his father. He told his father that he could fix this and that he wants the bloodline back on top. And he ends up asking Solo, what does he have to do in order to fix it? Solo says that's pretty simple. All Roman has to do is acknowledge him, Roman then responds back, ends up saying he does acknowledge Solo, but Solo responds back, ends up saying that that's not enough and that he needs him to say that he acknowledged him as his tribal chief or else. Roman Roman responds back furiously, ends up saying, or what? Solo ends up laughing. He ends up, basically setting the bait, ends up, saying that he knew Roman was never going to acknowledge him. Then he ends up calling out the bloodline, and it's Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and then Jacob Fatu. And they come out with Jimmy Uso. They come out with a beat up, injured Jimmy Uso. Then the bloodline tries to attack Roman, but Roman ends up taking him out. After he takes them all out, the Ulafala is on the ground and he picks it up and he actually puts it on, but then Solo ends up low blowing Roman Reigns, and then they end up brutally attacking Roman Reigns. The progressing story of the new bloodline being this dominant faction that Roman cannot overcome, and of course needs help. I understand that they've been doing the same ending for a few weeks now. I get it, but it's all to progress the story, so I don't mind it as much. But also, too, this episode was better than previous episodes when it was just Roman just out there. Now with the addition of Jey, of course, and they're actually having promos back and forth, it does make it a little bit better. I understand the same ending could be annoying, but it is progressing the story. Overall, this was a really good episode of Smackdown. I'm excited to see how they progress this bloodline story, but you guys let me know your opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.